Hi, this is Joe again with another movie review. Like I said in my previous review, we're going to do another movie that takes place during the holidays. And of course, we'll be also talking about a movie that actually has a lot of Christmas stuff in it, plus a lot of New Year's stuff. But it's not, really a Christmas movie, but it has those elements in it. And of course, the movie is a 1999 film, When Harry Met Sally. And of course, everybody knows this movie because of that one infamous scene with the fake orgasm scene. Because this movie stars, as you can see in the box, Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal. And it was directed by Rob Reiner, and he really is a meathead. Not only from most famous role in All in the Family, but as a liberal meathead. Because he is a liberal meathead in reality. And this movie was written by the late Noah Ephron, who died in 2012. And what this movie is about, how the basic premise of this film is how people meet each other, and then falling in love and all that. Well, of course, it starts off with two college classmates, played by Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal. And the first part of the film was how they drove from, they were both graduating from the University of Chicago it starts with 1977, and how they drove from Chicago to New York, because they both want to start their lives in New York City. And of course, the whole time they're talking about how men and women could never be. Well, Billy Crystal starts off, they're saying that men and women could never be friends because the sex thing always gets in the way. Because men always, every woman they meet, they actually want to have sex with them, no matter if they find them attractive or not. Well, of course, Meg Ryan disputes that, so men and women could be friends. Well, because the woman is not attractive. Because, well, you watch by have sex with them too. And it's pretty much how they, the movie shows how man and woman can really be friends without sex getting in the way. And of course, that's pretty much how the movie pretty much started. And of course, when Meg Ryan drops off Billy Crystal in Washington Square Park, yes, it is Washington Square Park. It's going to be the Madison Square Park, which is in Greenwich Village section of New York. And all around there is the campus of New York University. So it's basically where the arch is, when you see in the film, that's where one of the most famous avenues in New York City starts, which is Fifth Avenue. So it's where it begins or ends, depending on what direction you're going in, at that arch. And of course, then they depart. And of course, they don't meet each other again until another 5 years later. So now you advance 5 years later, and once again they meet each other at this time in the airport, and they happen to be on the same flight. And they see each other, and Meg Ryan is in a relationship with a friend of Harry's, and Harry tells Sally that, hey, I'm getting married. You are? And yeah. And of course they leave separately at the airport. And then of course the movie again takes place again 5 years later. And of course that's when Harry ends up getting a divorce. And that's when Sally broke off. Eventually she breaks up with her relationship. But then eventually, within the 2 years, they eventually become friends. And of course Harry says, we're becoming friends now? He said, yeah. I guess so. And he says, well, a woman friend. Right. So, the most famous sequence that takes place in the film takes place within 45 minutes into the movie, where Harry and Sally are eating at Katz's Deli, which is an actual delicatessen in downtown Manhattan, I think on the Lower East Side, I believe. I'm not exactly sure where, because I've never been there before. I'm not that familiar with downtown Manhattan. And they actually, in Katz's Deli, they actually have a table where where Harry and Sally sat during this infamous scene. They actually have a little plaque saying this is where Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan sat during the famous scene in Harry Met Sally, or words to that effect. And of course, the famous scene is when Sally tells Harry that sometimes when men and women are having sex, sometimes a woman is not satisfied and fakes an orgasm. And because she says most women at one time or another have faked it. And Billy Crystal says, well, they never faked it with me. How do you know? Because I know. Because they have an orgasm. I said, oh yeah? So Sally puts out her sandwich and starts on a full out doing a fake orgasm going all out going, yes, yes, and she starts banging on the table and the whole crowd was staring at her, and Billy Crystal was sitting there, still as can be, looking at her, doing this orgasm, and of course, the funny part of it is that on the behind the scenes documentary on the DVD, she really wasn't getting into it. She was kind of embarrassed because she had to do this scene in a restaurant full of extras. And they were all extras. And, with the sound crew and the lighting crew, all these people during this particular scene. And of course, Rob Reiner, of course, director, was doing how he wanted her to do this thing. And my wife says, I think you can do that. So of course she got into it, and they did it, and they got it on tape, and of course there was the scene in the movie. And of course the woman at the next table who says the line that one ups the scene, she says, I have what she's having. That happens to be Bob Reiner's mother, Estelle Reiner, who says, I have what she's having. And believe it or not, that line made it into the top 100 movie lines in the AFI, American Film Institute's greatest 100 movie lines. I should have been a contender, American Offer Can Refuse, Frankly My Dear I Don't Give a Damn, and then you have I Have What She's Having. I don't know exactly where on the list it was, but it was in with those other movie lines. And of course, throughout the scene, there's also other sequences where Harry and Sally hanging out Christmas time, picking a tree, decorating it, and then of course going out on a New Year's party. And of course, Harry and Sally make a deal, saying, hey, if neither one of us is dateless, and both of us happen to be on New Year's Eve without a date, let's go together next New Year's Eve. And she says that you got a deal. Go on. And of course they eventually of course have sex. And the reason that came about is because Sally's old boyfriend, when she broke up with, she found out that he was getting married, because he gave her like a courtesy call, one of those catch-up calls saying, "Oh, how you doing? Okay, are you okay?" She said yes, and they get into the chit chat, and he tells her that he's getting married. Then of course Sally goes all out, major crying fit, because she was upset with the fact that he never wanted to marry her, but he wants to marry somebody else. Oh, he doesn't like me. What's wrong with me? And of course, Harry goes over to console her, and of course he consoles her to the point where they eventually have sex. And when the morning after, or the moment when after they finished, the look on Billy Crystal's face, was a great contrast. because Harry was stunned because now all of a sudden the relationship is you feel the relationship is dead because they had sex. And but Meg Ryan had this big fat smile on her face. I mean, her smile could not get any bigger than in that scene. So it was pretty funny when I saw it. Look at the big smile on her face. And of course he runs out. And of course the next morning or 2 days later, whenever it is, they had this huge fight. And because actually they had sex. So who was comparing it to a dog. I'm not gonna say why is it compared to a dog. You have to see the movie to find that out. And of course they got into a fight. And of course it's New Year's Eve. And of course Billy Crystal is watching Dick Clark on TV, which unfortunately this is going to be the second year in a row where you can't see Dick Clark on New Year's Eve, which is a shame. We really lost an actual treasure there when Dick Clark died. Anyway, he goes to this party and decides to make up with her, and then he decides to tell her right then and there that he loves her. And Meg says, "This is not the way it's supposed to be." And how is it supposed to be? How do these things work? How is it supposed to fall out? And of course Meg says, "Well, not this way." And then of course Billy Crystal says, "If you fall in love with somebody, you want the rest of your life if you search for your whole life to find somebody, and when you find her, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible." And of course, when Sally says to him, "Oh, Harry, you say things like that. It makes it impossible for me to hate you. And they really hate you, Harry." And then of course that's when they made up right then and there, and they you don't see him getting married, but they end up getting married in the end of the movie, and they tell a little story about their wedding and what type of cake they had and all that type of thing. And that's how the movie ends. But to me, and of course next year in 2014, I can't believe it's going to be 25 years old, this movie. And of course this was, I feel one, other than City Slickers, this has to be one of the top 2 movies that Billy Crystal has done. And if you count maybe 3 movies that I've put in, the movie Memories of Me, which I've seen recently on television with Alan King and Billy Crystal. Maybe those are my top 3 movies: Silly Slickers, Harry Met Sally, and Memories of Me for Billy Crystal. And Meg Ryan, the only other movies that she did was very good was, of course, this one. This was like number 1. This I feel is a number 1 performance was in this movie. And of course the other ones, maybe You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle, that she did was very, very good in that. And the movie that actually got her cast in Harry Met Sally was in Top Gun. Because believe it or not, before Meg Ryan was Meg Ryan, she played Anthony Edwards' wife in the Tom Cruise movie Top Gun. And she was only maybe 3 scenes maybe in the whole movie, 3 maybe 4 scenes in the whole film. Very small role. But Rob Reiner noticed her and noticed Meg Ryan in Top Gun and cast her for this movie. And that's how Meg Ryan pretty much got cast in this movie, because Rob Reiner saw her in Top Gun. But as a movie, I felt at first I didn't like this movie because I felt it was all because of the fake orgasm scene. The movie was popular. And then the more times I watched it, the more times I liked this film. If you haven't seen it, or you only saw the fake orgasm scene, watch the whole film. The only other part that maybe kind of annoying is they had this little vignette throughout the film about these couples who have met each other. And believe it or not, on the audio commentary by Rob Reiner on the DVD, they had those stories were actual real stories. And originally, Rob Reiner was going to have the actual people tell these stories, but for some reason they didn't come off well, in the daily, when they call the dailies. And so what Reiner did was he hired actors to tell these stories. So that's what you had throughout the movie. You had actors telling actual real stories. Now, there weren't stories in the film. Those actors, but other people's stories. They related those stories in this film. The only one that was really, actually a fake story was the story at the end with Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal. So that's my review of Harry Met Sally. If you've never seen this movie, you're really missing out. Because it really is a great performance of the two of them. This movie also stars Carrie Fisher and Bruno Kirby. Well, of course, Bruno Kirby was a best friend, or a very close friend of Billy Crystal, and he got involved. And they, of course, reprised their friendship in the first City Slickers movie. But between the first City Slickers movie and the second one, they pretty much ended their friendship, got into some kind of a fight, and they pretty much broke up their friendship, which is a shame. And of course, Bruno Kirby died of a heart attack a few years ago when he was 50. But those were the four main actors, but pretty much the whole movie is Harry and Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. And Meg Ryan was hot in this movie. She was smoking hot in this film. Because she wore a lot of strapless dresses and really showed off her body in this movie. Well, that's a little pervy thing going on there. But looking at Meg Ryan in this film is really terrific. She starts off with the Fair Force hairdo. In the beginning, and of course in the end, the typical 80s hairdo. Well, again, that's my review of Harry Met Sally. Please like the video, comment, please share this video on your Facebook pages, and please subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching.